This father, whose mind was like that of a 3-year-old, suddenly regained his senses. It was nothing short of a miracle, but he didn't dare tell his family that he was awake again, so he could only hide in the bathroom and quietly break down in tears, because during the time he had lost his mind. His daughter married an old man just to take revenge for him, and his adopted son, driven by anger toward him, had turned into someone cruel and heartless. Feeling guilty, he went to the hospital that had been taken away by Jingxian, but the man happened to catch the old man's actions on the spot. To keep anyone from realizing that he had recovered, the director pretended to be confused again, claiming he was just hungry. He wanted to use that excuse to get close to his adopted son, but before he could even start eating, Jingxian called the whole family over. After all, the man had just lost the hospital. He was in no mood to eat with someone who seemed out of touch. As a son-in-law from a wealthy family, he was also being pushed to divorce by his wife's grandmother. It seemed his life was about to fall apart again. Just when Jingxian felt completely hopeless about everything, he suddenly received a call that felt like a miracle. The chairman of a major corporation had fainted and urgently needed heart surgery. Jingxian had a very successful case like that before, so he was personally requested to perform the operation. Seeing such a golden opportunity to prove his skill, Jingxian decided to give it everything he had. Even though his hand was still not fully healed, he wanted to prove his worth to his father-in-law, but that very decision would send him down a tragic path. At first, Taishan refused to let Jingxian perform the surgery. After all, he had already been expelled from the hospital. He no longer had the right to operate there. But when the old lady learned about it, she was the first to speak up in Jingxian's defense. Even though her grandson-in-law's character was questionable, his medical skills were undeniable. No doctor in the hospital was more capable than him. Such an important surgery had to be entrusted to Jingxian. Since she was the hospital's largest shareholder, Taishan had no choice but to obey his mother's decision. Jingxian was surprised to hear that. He never thought his grandmother-in-law would side with him. In truth, she wanted to boost the hospital's reputation. After all, everyone knew how talented Jingxian was. If her grandson-in-law could pull off this operation, she'd give him a chance to turn his life around. But to keep him firmly under her control, she handed his criminal records to her secretary for safekeeping in a vault. The documents she burned in front of the family before were fake, but her conversation with the secretary was overheard by Minxiu. That's when the woman realized her ex's criminal file wasn't destroyed, so she made an excuse saying she had an urgent errand and got into the secretary's car, then pretended to have a stomachache, asking her to buy medicine. When the secretary stepped out, Minxiu quickly grabbed the folder from the front seat and swapped it with the fake file she had prepared earlier. She then rushed to the police station holding the real evidence of Jingxian's crimes. This time she wanted to make sure he faced justice. Completely unaware, Jingxian finally faced the day of the operation. Though his hand still trembled badly, he stepped into the operating room, insisting on performing the surgery himself. But as soon as it began, his hand started shaking uncontrollably. His close friend noticed something was wrong and tried to stop him. He urged him to give up the operation, but the man ignored him and pressed on. And as expected, tragedy struck. Jingxian made a mistake that caused severe internal bleeding. No matter how hard everyone tried to save the patient, the person could not be revived. Seeing someone important lose their life because of his stubbornness, Jingxian fell into despair and went into hiding. Since reporters had been following the surgery closely, everyone wanted to know what had gone wrong. In the end, Jingxian's friend had no choice but to reveal the truth. He couldn't bear the responsibility alone. Because the patient was the chairman of a large corporation, the family naturally wouldn't let it go. They sent a legal notice to Taishan's hospital, demanding that his son-in-law be handed over to face the law. Silan had thought her husband passed the grandmother's test and things were fine, but now she realized he had caused a medical disaster. She was completely terrified. Soon the incident made headlines on television. His adoptive mother felt he finally got what he deserved, but his adoptive father, who had regained his mind, couldn't bear the truth. He hid in a corner quietly weeping, because he knew it was his fault that Jingxian's life had been completely ruined.